Tonight on Need to Know, she's one of the most memorable characters in television history. But it's her real-life story, a memoir-turned one-woman show being performed here in Rochester that will take you inside an intriguing, comedic, and jaw-dropping world filled with lots of confessions. Actress and author Alison Arngrim, a.k.a. Nellie Oleson of Little House on the Prairie, joins me next. Also on the show, she's a mezzo-soprano to be reckoned with. We go behind the music with a local performer, inspiring audiences around the country. Don't go anywhere. Need to Know starts right now. Alison Arngrim played a character that millions of people around the world, simply put, hated. But the actress says her popular character, Nellie Oleson of Little House on the Prairie, was a girl she grew to love. In her memoir-turned one-woman show, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, Arngrim says Nellie Oleson aided and protected her like no other creature, real or imagined, and that Nellie transformed her from a shy, abused little girl afraid of her own shadow to the, quote, in-your-face, outspoken, world-traveling, politically active, big-mouth bitch, her words, not mine, that she is today. The much-loved actress is performing her one-woman show laced with comedy and confessions here in New York this week for the Rochester Fringe Festival. And before she hits the stage, she's joining me in the studio to share more. Alison Arngrim, it is a pleasure to have you. Welcome.
Thank you. Great introduction.
Thank you. So I have to ask you, of all the villains in the world of television, what is it about Nellie that people simply cannot shake?
I think we all know someone like that. The number of people who have told me over the years, oh my God, there was this girl at my school and she was so Nellie. In fact, years ago, Melissa Gilbert was speaking at a school in Ireland, and they refer to people who are bullies now as the Nellie. It's become like a word. And so people were like, the Nellie. So people say, I know someone. And the number of people said, yeah, and there's a Mrs. Oleson at my job. It's all the grown-ups know Mrs. Oleson and all the kids know Nellie. It's like, oh, we all know that girl. And I worked hard to be irritating. I really did. You know, the Nellie in the books was fairly obnoxious. And apparently the real Nellie in real life was a problem. She's based on 3 people historically. Apparently we're all terrible. But it took 3 people to be that bad. But when we're doing the show, I mean, I would have scenes and say, how can I say this so I really want to punch myself in the face? How can I really just,
Yeah. Well, you have said, and you say this, you've taken a lot of heat for this character. I mean, and you describe how, I think it was the LA County Fair, a woman comes up, she looks hot and bothered, and all of a sudden she utters the words, I forgive you, as though you had done something, but obviously referencing this character.
She was serious. She was serious. This woman came up to my, and I'm sitting there, and people were coming up, love your show. Some people were like, oh, I hated you. Oh, I just hated you. This woman looked like she was going to lose it. And she just went, I forgive you, and walked out. I was like, what do I say? What do I even do?
Right.
And it was so stunning. And my husband was in hysterics. He's going, again, we did, okay. And it was, I had hit such a nerve. She had had such an emotion. Little House on the Prairie, very emotional show. And then I show up and I'm so mean that it had stuck with her whole life.
Isn't that something? What do you think it is that makes it difficult for people to differentiate between a character, a fictional character, versus the person in real life?
I'm always amazed at that. I mean, of course, I grew up with TV. I grew up with a family of actors. Everyone I knew was in show business. So, and I always liked the villains in movies and TV shows. So I right away, it's like, yeah, I'm the villain. I knew. I was like, no, it's not me. I swear it's not me. So I was like, wow, you really, I mean, do you believe that people are talking to through the television? Some people, they really do. They don't. But Little House is different. I've noticed that when we do events with actors from other shows, and we'll have a bunch of actors from Little House, the other shows, they're a show, we're real, which is kind of freaky, that people will come up and they're immediately transported back to their childhood. If they see me, if they see Melissa, if they see Dean Butler, who was Almanzo, they just suddenly go, I've gone back to the 70s.
It's interesting, and I love that you've done this, and I'm curious as to, some people would take that as a burden, like they would look at it as a burden, but you have found out, and why was it important for you to do this, to find it, to really turn it around and make it work for you in such a comedic way?
Well, I saw what was happening with so many actors, especially child actors. It's very difficult. You go to work as a kid, you have adult responsibilities. It is a real strain, and that's why a lot of child actors, it's very difficult for them to adjust to being adults. And I was seeing the problem people were having were very identified with characters. Jane North, who was Dennis the Menace, people were very identified with their characters, and they were really struggling. They were talking about how hard it was. And I called it the bad tattoo syndrome. I said, well, you get a crazy tattoo, and at first you're showing everyone, and then at some point you're embarrassed. You grow up and you go, yeah, what was I thinking? And you wear the long sleeves, and then eventually you don't care anymore, and you say, yeah, I was drunk, I was in the Navy, and you don't care. And I say, somehow it has to be that it's just part of me. It's just this other part of me that's there. Because I said, well, it also shows in 140 countries and everyone knows who I am and I'm recognizable. I said, well, it's either get plastic surgery and find a country they didn't watch it in, or find a way to make this work. It's like either have every single day be shut up, stop talking to me about Nellie Oleson. And I noticed how much time people had to spend saying, do not talk about this show. And I thought, well, how many hours in the course of a week do you blow having to say, don't talk about the silly show? What if I found a way to turn it around and make it work to my advantage? which I feel I have. It's really fun. I enjoy it. My show is a hoot. You should come. It'll be great.
Let's take a clip. We have a short clip of your one-woman show, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. This is for viewers, so let's take a look.
Tonight we're going to answer some questions. Starting with the most pressing question, why am I such a bitch? You want to know why I'm a bitch? I'll tell you why I'm a bitch. Do you have any idea the shit I have had to put up with? Do you know what it means to be Nellie Oleson? It means that somebody, somewhere, at least once a day, has called me a bitch to my face every day since I was 11 years old. There are some things in this life that I will never live down. Any idiot can be liked. It takes talent to scare the shit out of people.
So Alison, with a title that starts with confessions, we know that there must be several great golden nuggets that you share. I'm curious if you could just give us a glimpse into something that you share that people might not expect.
It's true, as you saw on the clip. It's all true. What happened was I was doing regular sort of stand-up, and then it was in 2002 I realized let's just tell them all true stories. Everything is a true story from my life. Yes, I did Fantasy Island, where I played a hooker, and Eve Plum, Jan Brady, played my mother, which makes no sense. Yes, I was sexually harassed by Hervé Villechaize, as was apparently everyone in the entire universe. Yes, I was hit with a cup of orange soda during the Santa Claus Lane Hollywood Christmas parade. Yes, my boob fell out on Dance Fever on live television, and I lived to tell the tale. Yes, Dan Haggerty, Grizzly Adams hit on me at a party at Brenda Vaccaro's Christmas party. Yes, I have no famous people I've slept with. I have a long list of famous people who tried to sleep with me and I turned them down. So I have all these famous people I refused to sleep with. It's wonderfully nutty. It's all true stories. It's all about my father working for Liberace and my mother being the voice of Casper the Friendly Ghost and and growing up in Hollywood. And people are fascinated with ex-child stars and the insanity of Hollywood. And so this is the show that tells you what that's like to survive. And as I said, somebody somewhere has called me a bitch to my face every single day since I was 11 years old. And how do you live with that? What do you do? How do you get through the day when that is your life?
Right. In what ways do you think, of all your years on Little House on the Prairie, how do you think that Nellie and that character impacted the choices that you made in terms of acting roles and so on moving forward?
Absolutely. There was absolutely typecasting. The number of times where it's like, I wanted to read for the part of that nice girl. They wouldn't have me in. But then they will call me for the bitch. And then it got funny because people said, well, we were going to call you, but we didn't want to call you. We thought you'd be insulted because she's the bitchy character. And I'm like, call me. Yeah. So now I'm like, yes, please call me to play someone terrible. It's great. But it's a character role, technically. And character actresses, being beautiful is great, but playing character lasts forever. And playing the villain or the funny person, you much more longevity than just being the pretty nice girl. So I was kind of like, oh, in the long run, I seem to have scored, yes. So playing the character role, it does give you more leeway. You can play more interesting parts, you can do crazier things. And because I've already been called every name in the book and had people throw things at me, I have nowhere to go but up.
Well, in your memoir and in the show, you share these tales of your upbringing, as you mentioned, this bohemian
to put it
life
mildly,
in West Hollywood with your
wackadoodle
actor
family,
parents, your actor brother, who at one point was on the cover of teen magazines. And the tales of your life, Alison, they're filled with excitement and amusement, but there's also heartbreak and pain. And reading your memoir, and you share the story of being sexually abused by your older brother at the age of 6. And talk to me about why it was so imperative for you to be candid about this in your memoir.
I thought, well, if I'm going to tell my life story, I'm going to tell my life story. If I'm going to tell it, I'm going to tell it. And then I'd come somewhat public on the Larry King Show because I was fighting to change a law in California, the incest exception, which was allowing child predators to go free and serve no jail time as long as they had the sense to pick a victim that they were related to, which makes no sense to anybody normal is going, wait, what? But that was the law. So we've changed that in several states. And because I was going public with that, I was asked, well, did this happen to you? And well, yes, it did. And so I wound up going very bad. It helped. It did. It got us a lot of support when we changed the law. So then, but once the cat's out of the bag. So when I was doing my memoir, I went, well, that's it. We're telling everything. And so many people have reached out to me that my story was not different. My story was exactly the same as everybody else who this has happened to over and over again. I mean, that's what we talk about, the Me Too movement, that people saying, why are these stories so similar? Because apparently these guys have no imagination or original material. And so these people who abuse people, they're all so the same. And in a way it's depressing, and in a way it's valuable for victims. You go, oh wait, I'm not different. It wasn't something unusual, it wasn't me. They do this to everybody, ugh. So I wanted to get that out there. And the fact that Nellie, being Nellie, it did save my life. I was so scared and shy, and I was bullied at school, and now I was playing someone people were afraid of. It's like, I said it was like those nature specials where they talk about the animals that change their coloring to look like something more dangerous in the wild. It's like it's one of those, like camouflage. Yes, I am Nellie, run. And it really, really helped. And now I look at my life like, this is great. And it helped a lot too, because I've been working with National Association to Protect Children, protect.org, and we've changed laws all over the country, and we're still doing all sorts of amazing things with getting high-tech stuff to police, and the new sunshine laws, where we feel people should be able to easily find out what is a judge's or prosecutor's record on prosecuting sexual offenses. How can I find this out before, say, I vote for them? And we want to make that kind of stuff available. Being able to do this with my reputation as well, maybe we shouldn't get her mad because she might go Nellie on us. It's been quite helpful. That's great.
Yeah, and reading your memoir, you talk about how this character of Nellie, you were able to take what she was doing. It was almost like therapeutic in so many words, just in terms of the acting out of the things that she would do or say.
Because I'm more kind of chill and calm, but Nellie's like screaming and yelling and throwing things, and it's just to be able to let all of that stress and anxiety out. It's so healthy. I had somewhere safe to let all that rage and insanity out, and then I had this really supportive environment on the show. So I mean, I couldn't have done better.
That's great. Well, as you've mentioned, you really have taken up the fight to ensure that kids in Hollywood who are actors and kids everywhere, they're aware of the dangers that exist, unfortunately, in this industry. And I want to know you were talking just a little bit about this, what resources are available today that maybe you didn't have when you were younger that people can tap into?
Well, especially if you're a kid actor, there's a minor consideration, which I worked with. Paul Peterson started from the Donna Reed Show. That's all, and you can talk to them. And then there's now a program called called Looking Ahead. And this is a program that kid actors can sign up for. Yeah, they have outings and fun things, but they have people to talk to about your finances, about your education, about making plans for if you do leave the business. There's someone there to check in with, and they work with the Actors Fund and the union. And of course, there's now programs at the Screen Actors Guild of the union to help child actors. All of these things, none of that existed. And then, so now, of course, we have Protect. Of course, if you are in crisis right now, there is 1-800-4-CHILD, which is Child Help, which is a hotline. If you are being abused, you know someone. And you can actually, you can call them if you were abused as a child, just haven't told anybody and need to talk. They have a great hotline. There's so many resources now with Child Help, with RAIN, the Rape and Incest Network. None of these things existed when I was a child. We didn't even have, little brochures. There were no ABC after-school specials, as I say, talking about.
Right, exactly.
Now people talk about this.
Yes.
When I was a child, people did not talk about these things at all. Now people are very open. You now have much younger people reporting that they're being abused and getting help much, much earlier, which I'm really relieved about.
Well, I know that when talking to people about you being on the show, eyes opened up. They were thrilled that you were coming to Rochester and that you're here right now. What is it, I'm curious, that you love about taking the story of your life and sharing it with the world? And really, you are so funny and doing it in this great comedic way. What do you love about it, and how does it fulfill you?
It is a crazy story. And growing up and all of my life, and as a young adult and an adult, people would say, "Are you writing this stuff down?"
Your memory,
there should be a book. Because all these weird things would happen. Well, it is a story of my mother and my meeting the Satanists in the parking lot of my show, because of course, the what? And it's just these things would happen, and everyone go, what was that? What was that just happened? And like, are you taking notes? Yes, I am. And so all the bizarro things that have happened to me because of being Nellie or being me, I put them all in there. And that's why in the show I have a question and answer segment. We have Ask Alison Anything. I have cards made up that actually say Ask Alison Anything, and I take them and I totally live. I don't censor them. I go, okay, this is what you ask, and we have a big Q&A segment, so we will answer your questions. And it's just, I love people's reactions. People are still, their eyes sort of light, and they go, I'm still mad at you. I'm still mad at you 45 years later. I'm still mad at you. And it's very exciting. I enjoy that.
All right, well, we are unfortunately out of time, but a huge thank you to Alison Arngrim for joining me today. And you can hear much more from Arngrim at her one-woman show, Confessions of a Prairie Bitch, that is taking place this Friday, September 21st, and Saturday, September 22nd, at the Rochester Fringe Festival. Now, Arngrim's show will be held at the School of the Arts. So for more information and to get your tickets, go to rochesterfringe.com. She's been called an extraordinary talent. Passionate, versatile, vibrant, and engaging. Mezzo-soprano Jessica Ann Best may be Rochester born and bred, but her musical gifts are celebrated nationwide. From New York City to Savannah, the local talent travels the country sharing her unique sound, described as crossing operatic, musical theater, and concert stage. This fall, Best will be joining the group Velvet Caravan for a special musical performance at Nazareth College. Joining me in the studio to share the story behind the music is the artist herself. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So first, for people who don't know, what is a mezzo-soprano? They might hear that and they might say, they might not be able to connect. What does that mean?
Great question. We get asked that a lot. So mezzo means middle in Italian. So it's the middle voice, and then soprano. So I'm a lower soprano in the most plain terms.
So of all the many musical genres that exist in our world, tell me what it was about opera and classical singing that called to you, that was a natural fit for you at an early age, because you got started young.
I did. I grew up in a very musical family, and so classical music was always on. WXXI was always on in our home, still is always on. And when I was 8, I started singing with the Eastman Bach Children's Chorus, which is now at Nazareth, and I loved this music. And I grew up singing Bach, singing Vivaldi, singing Mozart. And when I was about 12 years old, this voice was a little bit more developed than maybe a normal 12-year-olds would be. And we thought, well, what do we do with this? And I always was in love with Barbra Streisand. And then coming from the same town as Renee Fleming, I thought, I'm really going to start to listen to this more. And it just became part of who I was. And I started immediately taking private lessons and studying with her mom, Patricia Alexander, at the Eastman School. So, yeah.
Well, I want to first, because we've got this clip and I don't want to hold back any longer. We caught up with you at a practice session last week. So we've got a short clip for viewers. And this is Habanera from the opera Carmen. So let's take a look. Jessica, your singing has been described as crossing operatic, musical theater, and concert stage, and then you'll be performing with groups like Velvet Caravan, which has been described as gypsy jazz, honky tonk, and swing. So I'm curious as to how challenging it is for you to journey and your voice to travel to all these different types of genres.
Yeah, you know, if you have good bel canto technique, you can, it's like using primary colors. You have, you know, yellow, red, and blue, and when you mix them together properly, you know how to get a magenta, how to get a green, and so that is really your breath support and how you use your body. And then if we really get technical, it's tongue position. Operatic tongue position is a little bit different than musical theater, the resonance, the mouth resonance versus the operatic. Obviously in opera, we're using our bodies to make all of the sonority, and in musical theater or in pop we can rely on a microphone, so we use a little bit smaller part of the embouchure. So if you know the right tools, you can cross over, but you also have to know the history of all the sounds. So when I'm singing an opera, I know that I require a specific sound for that particular opera, for that particular period in music. And when I'm doing jazz, I really try to sound like a saxophone or a trumpet. I try to understand what the instrumentation is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have to know, after all these years of singing and performing, what goes into maintaining your voice? And I'm curious because I've read things like there's a special diet for singers, and you can't have dairy or caffeine or this or that or spicy food before performance. So are there lots of things to take into consideration to keep this taken care of?
Absolutely. As a teacher and as a performer, I always say you only get one life, you get one instrument, so you need to take care of that temple. And so a lot of water, so much water. I love coffee and I'm not going to give it up, so I have to always be hydrated after that. And yes, many of us struggle with acid reflux, so you stay away from things that are spicy, from tomatoes, from anything that's going to cause more of that acid in your body. So you have to balance. I eat a lot of watermelon and cucumbers to like balance that out. And also you want to be strong. So sometimes before I'm singing, I'm going to eat a meal that's a lot of protein, a lot of vegetables, and maybe rice or potato, so that I have the energy to perform. And that varies from singer to singer. And then the most important thing, I think, is sleep. Yeah. So, you know, once again, it's like being an Olympic athlete. You need to make sure that you're taking care of your full body. So what you do every day and the day before affects your voice at that point.
Jessica, talk to me about, because you have said music is this universal language, and you've explained, and I've talked with you before about the gift of music. You said it's a way to see cultures connect. It's a way to teach people about the past, the present, and what we can expect moving forward. Explain that a little bit more for me and why you believe that way.
I think it's the most wonderful gift to be a musician, but for everybody to experience music, everyone can go to a performance of, let's say, Beethoven's Ninth, which is about brotherhood. And all of these instrumentation, all of the orchestra sitting there playing something specific. Every instrument is designed to function a specific way, and then together they make this sonority, this harmony together. And they're playing together, they're breathing together, the singers, the soloists, the choir. Everyone's doing something at once, but yet all of their differences are celebrated. And all around the world, we can tune to an A, and we can play a piece that every single country could understand, and every person might have a different feeling and a sentiment for that. So it is the universal language. And Leonard Bernstein, who is one of my favorite, composers and conductors, he's always talking about, and he's of course passed, but he's always said that the artists are the ones that are going to make the difference in the world. When it's violence, it's how we care for people, it's how we bring hope to humanity and bring beauty to a world that is in desperate need of it. And so the dreamers, the doers, the thinkers, it's the artists, the musicians that have the ability to bring hope and bring life.
I read a review that stated that when you sing, it's as though you are singing and connecting directly with the individuals in your audience. And I want to know, is that a goal for you when you take the stage to create that type of a connection? And what type of an impact do you want to leave on your audience?
Absolutely. I love making sure that it's an individual connection. If it's 3,000 people, if I'm singing to 2 people in a small chamber room, whatever, if it's the audition space, my goal is to bring truth and honesty to my art in that moment. So again, and then you can use it as, you don't know what that person is feeling on the other side, what's happened to them that day, and what's happened to you that day. So if you're having a great day, but someone else isn't, then you're able to portray that. But if you're not, you get to drop in and make that honest truth and sing and really bring all of your emotions to exactly what you do. And that's a really special gift and a special career to have. And yeah, I really hope that my audience is always impacted by just the beauty of the art.
You have an absolutely incredible voice, and I thank you so much for being here and for joining us. So a special thank you to my guests, Jessica and Bess, for your time today. Be sure to check out Jessica's guest appearance. She'll be with the musical group Velvet Caravan. That is on October 13th at 8 p.m. at the new Glazer Music Performance Center at Nazareth College. And that new performance venue happens to be opening this weekend. You can learn more about Jessica, her music, and her upcoming performances at jessicaandbest.com. And that wraps up another edition of Need to Know, Rochester's news magazine. I'm your host, Helene Bianduti-Hofer. Thank you for joining me tonight and throughout the weekend here on WXXI TV. Have a great night.